Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the Grand Slam of Curling and the Curling Group. John Cullen here with you as always, and pleased to be joined by not only my fellow Broom brother in crime, but, ladies and gentlemen, your 2025 Prince Edward Island Mixed Curling Champion, Robbie Doherty.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up or anything, but
wow, he's got the heart here and everything. Unbelievable.
That's how they come in PEI.
That looks awesome, dude.
Yeah, you know, though, like you see, like a lot.
Yeah,
of
other provinces will frame them
cases
or whatever. Yeah, yeah. They're just. Was it in an envelope? Did they give you all four in a Manila envelope?
No. Best prize I ever got on PEI, John, was runner-up in the tankard my first year. Hi, buddy. My first year in the tankard out of juniors, we came second. We lost the final, okay? So 21 years old.
Yep.
Like, lost 5-4 to Rod the Bod McDonald.
Yep.
And so they got their jackets and hearts and all that, and we all got an envelope. We opened the envelope, and there was a handwritten note in pencil written on a cut-up piece of loose leaf, $50 check to follow. That's a true story.
They couldn't get it together for the to have the check ready for you at the
I don't know. I don't think we ever got the check. Maybe
that
we
is
did,
oh, that's unbelievable.
Oh, it's just always a race to text Dave Mathers, like just like maritime curling stuff. And that was like, hey Dave, do you guys get these in Ontario?
Oh. That's really good. I mean, at least you got something. I feel like I came second at BC twice. I don't think we got anything. I mean, we got like medals or whatever, but we definitely never got $50.
Last year, Amanda Power's team, they lost the club national finals this year. They lost the Scotties final last year to Jane DiCarlo, and they got coupons for $3 off Kruger toilet paper.
Dude, I was giving those out at the Scotties when I was running around the concourse yelling at people. I was giving away $3 coupons. So it's cool to know that I was in those fans that were scared by me were in the same boat as you. But in any case, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very cool. You had a nice run at the mixed doubles too. We never really updated the fans on that, but you had a nice run at the mixed doubles, and then you cap it off with a win at the mixed. I mean, pretty good.
John, I played 26 curling games last season. I counted them up.
Yep.
In the last 2.5 weeks, I've played 31.
Wow. So you're basically back.
I am back, baby, and I'm hurting. I'm really hurting. But it was great. And in all seriousness, mixed doubles was good. We came third. 19 teams, so that it is what it is. We have Michelle and I haven't really been playing, and we're literally sending Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman Facebook messages the day before asking about rules. So we would take we took the bronze medal, but the mixed, it was great. Ryan Giddens, his first ever nationals on the team. You may remember him from the 2016 Brier. Yeah, is the PEI alternate, and he's back on the national stage next year. So
love it.
The girls, Megan Hughes and Michelle Shea, formerly McQuaid, used to play with Suzanne Burt. So good squad, and it'll be fun. I haven't really looked onto the next steps yet and don't really know what to expect, but it was a good time provincials.
Well, you get to go to the nationals, and I haven't been to the mixed nationals, but I do know that it is a good time, and I'm sure you'll have a blast there. It's also nice because as I think I have said on this podcast before, if you lose the mixed provincial final, you do have to retire from curling. So it's nice to know that you can keep playing. That was why I quit. I said losing the mixed final was way worse than losing the men's final.
Oh, 100%.
All mixed teams are just like, you throw together, you play with your friends, you're like, whatever. If we win, cool. If we don't, that's fine. But like making it as far as you can possibly make it and then losing, it makes it the biggest waste of time that you could possibly do. And it's so depressing. Like, I thought I was depressed after I lost men's finals. Like, no, because your men's team stays together. It's a building block. Like, we first lost the BC final in 2015, and then we ended up staying together for 3 more years after that. So it was like, that was just an important building block. It was disappointing to lose, but mixed, you're like, oh my God, I lost, and now I have to quit.
Yep.
So it was hell. It was hell, but congratulations, buddy. Very cool. And I do want to also say, I have gotten quite a few DMs and messages on Twitter, this is nice, by the way, but saying, where is the episode? They were dying. We didn't hit, usually we put out an episode every 2 weeks. We didn't put one out last week because we decided to wait for the Scotties to be over to talk about it. But we do appreciate your messages. We're sorry we're late. But hopefully you enjoy this episode. And speaking of the Scotties, we are going to have Scotties bronze medalist Christina Black joining us later in the show to tell us about her experience. They've kind of moved their way into the upper echelon of teams, not just in Canada, but in the world. So we're going to talk to her about all of that. I'm going to talk to Will about his behavior while his dad.
No, that was me. Okay. I have our Christmas tree star beside me, and I keep standing up and it falls down. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, we will be talking to Christina Black. It's a great interview. You're going to love it. So stay tuned for that. But let us start with the Scotties. They just ended. And Robbie, I feel like I've asked you this question on this podcast like 3 or 4 times already this season, but it begs the question again, will anyone ever beat Rachel Homan?
I don't think so. Not at this rate anyway. I've never seen a sports team look so in control of an event, or in terms of hockey, let's use the playoffs, anything along those lines. Every game, they were just in control. It was just theirs to lose, and they never did. I just think that team is so impressive. And I'm not going to repeat my words that I've said on the last 5 episodes, but it's just unbelievable to watch. Rachel herself is just unbelievable. She's just an incredible athlete, and it's mind blowing. And the team is unbelievable. And I played Tuesday night league last night here at Cornwall Curling Club, and that's all we talk about at the table after was Rachel Homan. Just how confident, solid, just in control they were. And it's mind blowing to see.
I think I saw someone post today. I don't know if it was in the Discord or on Twitter or something, but I saw someone say that Rachel, in the entirety of the Scotties, never trailed by more than 1 and only trailed in the second half of a game once.
That's wild.
So like you think about that, like even just, how simple is it sometimes the first end, you start without hammer, you give up 2. Even when you're the best team in the world, that can happen. Of course. You're playing other really good teams. The fact that scenario never happened and a team never led Rachel by more than 1 that's absurd to me and just speaks to their dominance. But yeah, she shoots 100 in the final. She goes undefeated again. She's now tied her own record for the consecutive Scotties wins, which you have to imagine she will break next year unless she's in the Olympics. Then she won't be in the Scotties, so then we'll have to wait another year for her to break that in 2027. But yeah, I mean, truly impressive. And I also want to say, Robbie, can I pop off a little bit here?
Of course.
So Rachel shoots 100 in the final, and I saw a few people saying on Twitter, "Oh, well, she didn't shoot 100 actually because she had that hit and roll, and it didn't actually roll over to the freeze." Okay, number one, that was close enough to a 4 out of 4. When you're calling like a hit and roll to freeze, if you don't roll all the way over there, yes, I might be tempted to score that a 3 out of 4 and not a 4, but it's not the end of the world if it gets scored a 4. Number 2, and I think people don't know this, shots are allowed to be scored 5 out of 4. It almost only ever happens for skips, but the statisticians do have the ability to score a shot 5 out of 4, that a shot was so good that it becomes scored a 5. I didn't look at the exact statistics for Rachel, but that shot in 3, that slash double, that's a 5 out of 4, baby. And so even if you thought it was the hit and roll was a 3 out of 4, guess what? She had a 5 out of 4 as well. It's all 100 to me, baby. Incredibly impressive. But I just wanted to say that because I saw enough people being snarky. Oh, she didn't shoot 100. First, shut up. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
It was an amazing game. Shut up.
No, exactly. I don't understand how these people have time to go on and make these comments and get into it's mind blowing. Arguing, well, she her roll stopped a foot short. Oh, well, sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, go put the iPad away, go back to Call of Duty, and stop harassing Rachel Homan.
Leave us alone over here. But yeah, I mean, we're just echoing ourselves from all year. Incredible performance by the team, and it really. I also saw someone comment on Twitter, a few people actually, that it reminds them of like 2001 Tiger Woods.
Oh,
and
100%.
It really does have that feel where it's not just that Rachel is winning, it's that she knows she is going to win and you know she's going to win. And that's what's causing such a problem, I think. It's like you even saw that in the final. The first 5 ends of that final was tremendous.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, Carrie Anerson and her team were excellent. Rachel and her team were excellent. There was great shots made by all team members, but particularly by both skips. It was like Rachel would make a great shot. Carrie had an answer. Carrie would make a great shot. Rachel had an answer. It was tremendous curling. And then the wheels kind of fell off for Carrie a little bit in the second half of that game, obviously missing some draws you'd expect her to make. But that is the effect that Rachel has, is it feels like teams are coming into these games, Robbie, where they feel like I cannot miss. If I miss, I'm screwed. And that's such a tough way to play curling.
Yeah, and I think that's what I meant by in control. It's just like she comes out, like you said, she knows she's going to win. It's just a matter of time. And even like you said, like Carrie played really well the first half. It was just a couple draws later in the game that really kind of cost her, a couple shots here and there. But I mean, it's how do you not crumble? I don't want to say crumble because Carrie played amazing, but how do you not break down eventually when you see your opponent putting down the broom like it's nothing, throwing a third of a rock, quarter rock, crosshouse / double, and just making it look easy. It's just it's so deflating, but it's just mind-blowing to watch as a fan. It's fun when the Scotties and the Brier is on for us. It's fun because we can just be a fan. We're not working. We're not, we can really take time and really watch the broadcast and follow along like from the start to the finish. And it was just mind-blowing to see. And I think what kind of got me into that game is, it was always kind of neck and neck, Homan and Carrie, say like 2 years ago and before that, but Homan has just burst out on her own above everybody. And now if you're Carrie, it's like, what do we have to do between now and next December to catch up?
Totally. Yeah. I think that to me is the biggest thing coming out of the Scotties is where does Carrie Anerson go from here? I totally agree with you. She wins 4 Scotties in a row. And then last year, you can't blame her for what happened, losing Brienne on the eve of the Scotties. No team was going to recover from that probably. And obviously Rachel was playing amazing. So it's not necessarily that Carrie would have won anyway, but yeah, that was a really tough scenario. And then this year, obviously tons of uncertainty. Brienne gets her ban lifted, but that only happened kind of right before the Scotties. And they had already committed to Carly Burgess and Lauren Lenentine as the alternate. And Kristen's been in the lineup all year. Then Shannon Burchard can't really get over her knee injury. So her whole year was just in a constant state of flux. And I think, yeah, you're right. That is the big question is now what does Carrie do? Because I think you're right. Rachel has separated herself from the pack, but I would also say that Carrie has separated herself from the pack below. It's like the gap is not as big between Carrie and the pack as it is between Rachel and Carrie, in my opinion. No. But there is still a gap. To me, Carrie is still the clear number 2 in Canada. Yep. I'll put the question on you, Robbie. What would you like to see her do? Would you like to see Carly stay in the mix? I mean, I guess we don't know what's going to happen with Shannon's injury or whether or not they're going to bring Brienne back in the fold. But, what do you maybe see happening there?
I mean, I think they're going to go to a 5-person team with Brienne and Carly and Shannon. I think they're going to have to play through it.
So you think Kristen is going to be the odd person out?
Probably. Okay. Gosh, that's blunt to say. Now that I said it out loud, though, I mean,
that's the reality. If that's what's going to happen. Yeah, gosh, it's tough. It's really tough to know. Because I could also see Brienne being the odd person out. I mean, I agree with you. I think they're going to find a way to keep Carly in the mix, whether that's a 5-person team or whatever that looks like. Again, I think a lot of that's going to depend on how Shannon's injury heals over the course of the summer. But But yeah, I could see Brienne being the odd person out too. And that's not, I have no insider knowledge on that. I just think with how well Kristen has played and kind of the whole Brienne situation was just, it would feel maybe strange to try to come back from that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but yeah, to me, I agree with you. I see 5-person team, and I think it's either Brienne or Kristen who's probably the odd person out.
Yeah, and the shitty part about all of it is that, any of the 4, whether it's Kristen, Brienne, Shannon, or Carly, all 4 are unbelievable players.
Totally.
And literally, like, for podcast host reasons, I tried to think of something to say, but the true answer to that question is I don't know. I have no idea what they do.
And I think maybe they don't know either, right?
No, I don't think they do. They absolutely, how would they? Now, at the same time, you can't forget that they won 4 Scotties in a row with Shannon and Brienne. And with that said, this conversation we just had, they're the clear number 2 now. Do they have to go with the OG lineup? I know it's different. Shannon missing pretty much the entire year, if not, you can round up and call it the entire year. And Brienne obviously has been on the shelf for over a year now. Yeah, like a calendar year. So
and literally wasn't allowed to practice either.
No, exactly.
Couldn't even be on the ice for basically 10 months.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's tough. And then Carly, I thought Carly, she really impressed me during the week. I'm a little bit biased with Carly as she is a Maritimer, and I've watched her play since she was 10 years old.
Didn't look out of place.
No, that's what I was going to say. She didn't look out of place. She stepped up. She owned her role. She wasn't scared to, communicate with Kristen when sweeping. We saw some hand gestures, just little things like that. She didn't look like the new person joining this team, if that makes sense. Now, I know she had an event or 2 under her belt with them, but still an event that size, it being that new, it's pretty easy to come in and just say, oh, I'm just going to, kind of do my role and nothing more. But she really stepped up. She played well. She was a leader out there. And so they've got tough decisions to make.
Sorry, she was 3rd for seconds on the week, only had 1 game below 80%, which was their like 1-2 playoff game or whatever. That was the only game she was under 80. She was 84.2% on the week. She was only 0.2% behind Jocelyn Peterman, who won the second team All-Star award, but yeah, was right up there. And then Emma Miskew was right below Carly. So you had Joss at 84.4, Carly at 84.2, Emma at 84. Of course, Sarah Colton was the first team All-Star in her debut with Team BC. Corinne Brown, she was 87.5 for the week. So very impressive from her too. But yeah, to your point, Carly fit in perfectly, looked like a player that belonged. And, that's her 3rd final in a row. So it's not like it was some, Carrie, brought you to a final. Well, she was in the last 2 years too. So, I thought she looked good too. We definitely want to get to talking about the Brier, but let's just talk about, quickly some teams. I want to talk about maybe all of this together. We saw Black and Skurlik make the 3-4 game, which was close to what you and I predicted. I think I had a Laws in there. You had a McCarville in there, but I think it was funny. Like, I thought McCarville was the team that was in trouble. You thought they were in the playoffs. And then I thought Laws was in the playoffs. You thought Laws was the team in trouble. Turns out we were both wrong. Right and wrong. We were both right and wrong. So we Black and Skurlik in the 3-4 game, maybe talk about that. And then any other sort of surprises or teams that caught your eye this week. You did pump the tires of Team Corinne Brown. They did make the playoffs, didn't make it into the 3-4 game, but Sarah Colton's first team All-Star, Sam Fisher, first team All-Star. Sam actually had the best percentage of a lead since Dawn McEwen in 2018. Wow. She was 93.3 on the week, which is a crazy number, especially with how tricky the ice was. But yeah, just your overall thoughts on the rest of the field.
I thought it was nice to see some different teams in the mix, like the 3-4 game, Team Black and Team Skurlik, like teams that you don't see all the time. It was fun to watch. Like you said, we've been pumping. We've talked about Christina Black's team quite a bit so far on the year. Yeah, we talked about them before the Tier 2. We talked about them before St. John's.
Yeah, I think we both had them making the top 4 at the Scotties as well.
Yeah, exactly. But Team Skurlik, Kayla is a shooter. Like big she time. Herself is a shooter.
Big time.
She can play. I think that team has a lot of potential. They're not there yet, but they certainly have the tools.
Kayla's young. She's 27. They're young.
Ashton, she was one of my volunteers at a slam, helped me roll out carpets when I was setting up the arenas. So I knew her when she was like, gosh, I want to say 17 or so. She was really young at the time. This was years ago. And I knew she told me she curled and all that, but I didn't know she was that good. So it's just been fun to see her for the past couple of years. But no surprise seeing those teams in the 3-4, both really good teams. I think definitely both have a lot of potential. I think a lot of it will depend on what they choose to do now with it. Christina Black, I know we hear this excuse a lot in curling, but geography's not on her side. So, but you know what? They're in a different position right now where they're flirting with the slams regularly. The trials around the corner. Maybe we will see them kind of turn up the heat and travel more and play more because they're certainly capable. But yeah, no surprise. Both great teams. It was fun to watch. The team that surprised me, and I've been waiting to talk to you about this team, Nancy Martin, baby. They were fun to watch. I've never seen
Nancy winning the Marge Mitchell Sportsmanship Award. Quite a few people commenting on just how expressive she is when she plays. Fun to watch. Definitely tons of rocks in play. And not to pick on them, but they are a little bit inconsistent. So when you have lots of rocks in play and you're inconsistent, it leads to crazy scoreboards and really fun games to watch, which was certainly the case for Team Nancy Martin.
And just nothing to do with curling, but have you ever seen a skip just look like she's having the time of her life every game more than Nancy Martin?
No.
No, they, in all seriousness though, that team, they gained a fan in me that week. It was really fun to watch them and, fearless and just taking it all in. It was just that right combination of a special team to watch. So congratulations to them. What about you?
I mean, I would say for me, it was, in terms of a surprise team, Laurie St. George, I think is someone I would put up there. I talked about them in our Scotties preview as a team I kind of liked. And, we're going to get into where you predicted them to end up when we play a game after the Christina Black interview, but I'll say not looking good for you, Robbie. But no, I really liked their addition of Lisa. I just think anytime you can add someone with as much experience as Lisa has and just the professionalism in general, Lisa's like a true pro curler. And Laurie and her team, they're great, but they don't go outside of Quebec too much. They haven't really played in the slams, so when you bring someone like Lisa onto that team who's a winner and knows how to win, I think that really helps. I think Jamie Sinclair has fit in really well with them. And so, it was disappointing to see them not make the playoffs after starting the week, especially really hot and beating some of the top teams in their pool. But really good week for them. And another team that I would lump in with Christina Black, not that they're as good as Black, but just a team that I would love to see travel more. I think there's more out there for them if they play a little bit more. And I don't know if that's necessarily realistic, especially with Lisa's mixed doubles schedule, although maybe that's going to be less now that she didn't make the Olympics or whatever. But I just thought they're also very fun to watch. I thought they had a really nice week. Laurie was the second team all-star skip, ended up at 80% for the week, just slightly behind Rachel at 86.2. She herself had a really good week. Thought the team was good, fun to watch, and we know with them being from Quebec, they're going to get more opportunities, and thought they were great. On the week. All right, let's get to the Brier.
Yes.
And I think, Robbie, the first thing to talk about, and I've actually done a few radio hits and podcast appearances that have been asking me about this. And I think the interesting thing about the Brier this year is that it sort of stands in contrast to the Scotties. I think most people going into the Scotties would have had Rachel Homan as the favorite and would have had Rachel Homan and Carrie Anerson in the final. I don't think too many of us were shocked. I mean, literally the top 4 teams in the World Curling Tour standings finished top 4 in not quite in that order. Kayla is 3rd, Christina is 4th, but Those were the top 4 Canadian teams. They were the 4 who were the last ones standing at the end of the week. Brier, it seems like depending on who you talk to, there's 5, 6, 7 teams that feel like they could potentially win this. It feels way up in the air. So let's just start right away, Robbie. Who do you got your eye on? Who are you looking at as the favorite going in? Betting odds have Jacobs number 1, Dunstone number 2, Gushue number 3 as the betting favorites. But where are you at heading into the Brier that starts in a couple days from now, this Friday?
I think I talked about this on the last episode, but Brad Gushue, we've seen this before. Last year, I forget what month it was. Let's say December and January. They just kind of weren't themselves at the Slam. They kind of ducked down. People started kind of counting them out. And then when the bright lights came on at the Brier, they turned it on. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again, especially with a few months under the belt with Brendan, the new player, kind of working out the kinks in that as that transition is still going on with bringing on a new player mid-season. They're always tough. Brad Gushue is always tough. Am I going to say he's my favorite for the week? No, I'm not. I did a few weeks ago, but I'm going to change that. I think this is Dunstone's year. Okay. I really do. I think he's just due to win at some point. He had a decent week last year, but McEwen kind of was that sort of Cinderella story last year.
Yep.
And I think it's going right back to Matt this year. I think that that team's really made a lot of I think EJ brings a lot to that team. Especially in sweeping with his brother, just the chemistry they have. We've gone through all that. We don't need to rehash it. But I think that Matt is one of those people that when you look at him, you can just tell he really wants this. He really wants to win the Brier. There's no secret to it. He's not going to deny it. And I just think this could be it. And I think to win your first Brier this close to the trials, it could be a dangerous team going forward.
Well, that's what happened with Brad Jacobs, right? Wins the Brier in 2013 and then wins the trials later that fall. I think, when it comes to Dunstone, it's all confidence for Matt, right? And I remember going into the Brier last year. So obviously they finished second their first year as a team, lose a heartbreaking final to Brad Gushue in 2023. And then, I think people thought, okay, they're sort of they're in the clear top 3. We sort of said it's Gushue, it's Botcher at the time, and it's Dunstone. Those are the top 3, and any of those teams could win, and Dunstone's in the mix. And then last year, it just didn't really come together for him at the Brier, and it really felt like a confidence thing. I remember he was on Inside Curling shortly before the Brier talking about, well, I'm not really playing that well right now and I need a lot of work. And he's very specific. He'll go on pods and say like, if I don't fix my intern draw, we're not going to win anything, kind of thing. And I think what the EJ move has done is given him a ton of confidence. I think having the Brush brothers, he feels like he can make more shots now than he could make before. Yep. I remember talking to him after Red Deer, which was the first event they played with EJ. He was just sparing for BJ at the time, but then would end up being a part of the team. And I remember him telling me, he said after the weekend, he said, I don't remember ever racking on a guard. I don't think we ever racked on a guard. And so, when you're a skip and you have that confidence that your brushers can make shots for you, lets you play a little bit more free. So I agree. Love the confidence they're coming into the event with. I think it's going to be really fun to watch them. I also think that, the only thing with the Brier this year is the pools are crazy.
A little lopsided.
And Dunstone is in the tougher pool. So, we'll see how they do. But yeah, certainly you'd expect them to make it out and make it into the playoff situation. I think, I've said this, you bet against Brad Gushue at your own peril. He's always going to be in the mix. Like you said, always finds a way to play his best at the Brier and at the big competitions. But I do just really like the way Team Jacobs has been playing, and they've really felt like the one Canadian team this season that can compete with the big boys. And I know Brad Gushue made 2 Slam finals as well earlier in the season, but there's just something about the air around Brad Jacobs that feels good. And I know, again, you want to talk about confidence. They obviously have a lot of confidence in the lineup they've put together. But yeah, I think for me right now, I'm looking at Brad Jacobs as my favorite. I know he is the betting favorite. Sometimes it's boring to pick chalk, but I do think that for Brad Jacobs, this is a Brier that if they don't win, they'll feel like they maybe let it slip away because they've got a really good shot at it.
Oh, it's a really good pick, especially with Gallant. Like he's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, they're all very good. Yeah, so let's talk about our, we did this with the Scotties. Who's your kind of dark horse? Who are some teams that you're looking at to maybe surprise this week? And again, keeping in mind that Pool B feels like anybody could surprise because you have Jacobs and McEwen in there, but then you have Kleider, Moybrook, Aslan, Purcell, even Tyler Smith from PEI, as opposed to Pool A where you got to run the gauntlet. And you want to talk about running the gauntlet, okay? So not only does Pool A feature Brad Gushue, Matt Dunstone, John Epping, Kevin Cooey, and Reed Carruthers, but Cam DeYoung from BC plays all 5 of those teams in his first 5 games. You want to talk about running the gauntlet? It's like, what, you couldn't give us Nunavut somewhere in there? Or what? No offense to Shane Latimer, but you got to run those 5 teams all in a row. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, welcome to the show, kid.
Yeah, exactly. This is your first Brier? Oh, good luck. Have fun out there.
In terms of dark horse, and I can't believe I'm literally about to say this out loud because it doesn't make sense, but I think it would be in that category now, is I'm taking Cooey as a dark horse.
Yeah.
They haven't done much.
They definitely count as a dark horse based on where they are in the rankings. No question.
And in the Alberta Tankard, like they looked like the old Team Cooey. Like Kevin was full of confidence, playing really well. Not overthinking, just putting the broom down, throwing it hard, and making doubles. Like you just did it all week. And I think when he gets confident, I think that will bleed down throughout the lineup. And I think they could be really tough. In fact, I might even have them in my top 4.
Okay.
We might get to that later.
Yes.
Another dark horse.
Very soon.
Another dark horse. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying playoffs here, but just a team that's going to turn some heads is Purcell from Nova Scotia.
Yep.
Owen is very good. He's very good. He's fearless. He's not scared to mix it up, and he's getting better and better and better every year. And maybe not this year, but really soon they're going to be a really annoying team to play against.
Well, and I like the mix, right? He's got Scott Zachary, who's been around the top levels of the game for a long time, played with Paul Fleming for a number of years, who, just won the World Seniors and was a fixture at the Brier for years, kind of one of those tricky teams always. Fleming didn't necessarily find his way into Brier playoffs, but was always a game that you thought, God, I got to go play Paul Fleming. I don't love that. And it kind of feels like that's where Purcell is at as well, where you have Scott Zachary there, the veteran. He throws second, but holds the broom for Owen. And then you have Luke Saunders, who, has really come on in the last few years, had a ton of success in the mixed doubles realm of the game. And I feel like he's been bringing a lot to that team as well. And I agree with you. I think they're a nice team. And I think, like I said, that Pool B, I think Jacobs and McEwen are both going to get out of that pool. But then when you look at that next clump of teams, that Kleider, Moybrook, Aslan, Purcell, and Smith, any of those teams finishing third in the pool would not be shocking. And I really like that we're seeing that kind of next gen, like Kleider and Moybrook sort of came up through juniors together. Purcell's just a little bit younger than them. Aslan's just a little bit older than them. Tyler Smith was also in that generation as well. Kind of nice to see them all sort of coming up together at the same time. And speaking of a dark horse, I like Felix Aslan. I think he's got all the shots in his locker. I think he's a bit underrated as a skip just because, we don't see him a ton on tour and everything. And he added Jean-Michel Menard, who has won the Brier before, has been playing third. They looked really confident at the Quebec Tankard. They lost that last year, which is what led Felix to, we've talked about a lot of the cutthroat moves on tour this year. Felix cut his own brother after Quebec playdowns last year. And, I remember he told me he said, and he kind of said this publicly, like he felt like the team had another level to get to, and they needed to make this move to add Menard in order to do that. And JP Trepanier, the lead, or JF Trepanier, phenomenal sweeper. Can't lose him in the lead spot. Martin Kret, veteran, has been there tons and tons of times. Can't lose him either. And so Felix just kind of said, you know what, this is the move I have to make. And it's cutthroat, but it's worked. I think they've had a good season, and they had a decent run at the points bet as well. So I'll take them as my dark horse. And Robbie, I will put you on the spot now.
Yep. Okay.
Who's your final four? And then you've already said your overall winner is Dunstone. So we'll do the same thing that we did with the Scotties preview. Just tell me who you think is in the 1-2 game, who you think is in the 3-4 game.
1-2 game is going to be Dunstone and Jacobs.
Okay.
3-4 game, Gushue and Cooey.
Okay.
I've left McEwen out. Kills me because I love that team, and they're playing really well. But no, that's and I've got a big one, but that's my gut feeling.
I will fair. Yeah, you feel your gut more than others, I guess.
My dad bod feel.
I will remind you, the very first episode of Broom Brothers, I asked you for your over-under of Mike McEwen's Brier finish of 2.5, and you said over. So at the start of the year, you had Mike McEwen in the Brier final, but this year you do not. So interesting to note.
Yeah, and a great team. I just have a feeling with Dunstone, and I have a feeling Cooey's just going to go on one of his tears.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I will, I think it's going to be a similar thing to last year, where I think Brad Gushue is going to start a little slow. So I'm leaving him out of my 1-2 game as well. But he's going to pick it up, but he's going to have to go the long way to make something happen. So I will say in my 1-2 game, I'll just to be contrarian, I agree. I'll keep Dunstone in there with you, and I'll put McEwen in the 1-2 game, just to be different.
Mix it up.
Not? And then our 3-4 game, I'll have Jacobs and Gushue. And so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think there are other teams. I mean, we barely touched on John Epping, who has had a phenomenal year, is now in the top 10 in the world. Reed Carruthers added BJ Neufeld. It looked like a pretty good mix at the Manitoba Playdowns. Yep. Tons of storylines here. It's going to be so fun to watch. And I just wanted to touch on very, very briefly, because I know we can't go a podcast without talking about Foamgate. But we made it through the Scotties. Every team there used white foam. So remember, Robbie, there was maybe going to be a signed agreement. Maybe there was a handshake agreement. We don't really know. Ended up just being a handshake agreement. All the teams at the Scotties did use white foam. I'm hearing that we're on a similar path at the Brier, that they decided not to even try a signed agreement, because obviously that didn't work at the Scotties, but that I heard teams were getting quite close on a handshake agreement. However, I have heard from multiple teams that they are bringing every foam possible and they are ready for whatever. And I actually think that it's possible. I think the top teams are all going to use white foam against each other. I think they all firmly believe in that. And that's a lot of those top teams that were trying to do the same thing at the Slam in Guelph. And they're almost all hardline teams other than John Epping. So I think that's going to be a pretty easy situation there, where just when they're playing each other, they're going to use the white foam. But Robbie, I'm just putting it out there. I'm hearing some whispers. I do think there may be a team lower in the standings or lower in the rankings heading into the Brier that might say, fuck you, I'm using the black foam. Just throwing it out there. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I think there are some whispers out there.
I think it would just add to the week. Why not? Yeah, do it. If I'm going to play the Brier and my first game's against Brad Jacobs, and I show up with black foam and they have white, I'm sure they're still going to look at me and laugh. So,
well, I said, I said this to a few teams who were kind of asking me about it in the lead up. Some of the lower teams in the rankings, just knowing that I talk to the top teams and I'm aware of kind of what's going on. And I just said to them, I'm like, I think number one, you run the risk of pissing the top teams off, which whatever, that's fine. Some teams could deal with that better than others. I think some teams would go, I don't care if I piss off the top teams. Other teams would say, well, similar to John Epping at the Slam. Well, I don't want this to be a distraction. So I'll just not piss anybody off so I don't have to deal with the distraction. But also, I don't know if I want the top teams using the black foam against me. I feel like probably my sweepers are not as good as their sweepers, and they probably know how to use the foam better than I know how to use the foam. I think if I'm a lower team in the rankings, I actually hope that Ben and Brett are using the white foam when I play them.
Yep. And I think you're going to need a lot more than foam.
Yeah.
If you want to have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The foam is not hard enough to do the damage that you would need to do to Ben and Brett in order to
I just love curling.
Game. I love curling too. The Brier's going to be a great time. Can't wait for it. We will definitely be back in 2 weeks' time after the Brier, so don't worry about that. We'll be back on our every 2-week schedule. But now that we've talked about the Brier, let's go back to the Scotties. We are going to bring in the Scotties bronze medalist from Nova Scotia, Christina Black. It was a great conversation. Let's get to that right now. All right, we are pleased to be joined by the newly minted Scotties bronze medalist, current world number 16, Christina Black. Hi, Christina.
I think we're 14.
Are you now? I just looked this morning and did it change? What the hell?
You know what? Good for you, Christina.
Yeah. Call me out. Call me out right away.
Fact check.
Well, I'm looking right now. It's saying 16 on Curling Zone, but year to date, maybe you're 14. No, it's saying you're 16 on that too. But
maybe it changed since the other day we looked and we moved up to 14th. But
I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Shoot, well, I thought I was 14th.
Maybe they threw the Sun City Cup results in there because that was a big tournament going over the Nordic Curling Tour. So maybe you got screwed by the Sun City Cup.
Jeez, they'll get you every time.
Look, Christina, I'll tell you this. You're number 14 in my heart.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of low.
You're number 1 in mine, Christina.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Damn it. Called out. All right, Christina, we start every interview with the top 4. I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and I just want you to give me the first answer that pops into your mind, all right?
Okay.
All right. Who is a curler that you have never played with before that you would want to?
Rachel Homan.
If both sets of rocks are great, you know that there's no problem with any of the rocks. What color are you taking?
Yellow.
What place is your favorite place to play other than your hometown?
St. John's.
And how would your bitterest rival describe you?
Probably say that I was not that I was mean or something, which I don't know. I have no idea.
Mean.
Someone would describe you as mean?
Yeah, you don't strike me as the mean type, Christina.
Me either. I don't know what they describe me as. I don't know. Hopefully,
they would have to be a very
nice,
they would have to be a very bitter rival, I feel like, to describe you as mean.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Nice. You'd have to ask them.
Who is your bitterest rival? Let me know so I can ask.
I don't know.
Hey, John.
She'll join my team. So
John, I can help you with that. We'll talk after. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk after. We'll wink. We'll see if we can feel it out. All right. Well, Robbie, I'll throw it over to you. You can ask Christina the first serious question of this interview.
Yeah, sure. I think the story of the week, certainly with you, was the performance at the Scotties. We're going to start with a big overview. It's 3 days removed now since your last game. It's Wednesday as we're recording this. Finished up on Sunday. Your overall thoughts. You have to be pleased with the results, but talk about your week, your thoughts on the team's performance, and whether you met expectations and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm super proud of us. You know, we went into it really believing we could be on the podium, and we achieved that. So I'm so proud we were able to do that. I mean, it's a really long week. We played a ton of games and played really well. You know, we battled through a lot of must-win games that we had to win, and against teams that, you know, we really wanted to beat in order to stay ahead of them, kind of thing. So it was like what games we had to win. We pushed hard, we battled, we fought through so much, and I'm just so proud of us. Like, it really went as well as we wanted it to, and yeah, it was great. It's an awesome week.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like in some situations, the team that wins bronze at a Scotties is unhappy about that. And they go, oh, geez, we came third. This sucks. What a horrible week. But didn't seem like your team was like that at all. Seemed like you, even though you lose the 1-2 game to Carrie Anerson, kind of seemed like even by that night, you were pretty happy. Like, you watched the final from what looked like a suite. You seemed very happy during the medal presentation, everything. Was there a moment of, geez, I wish we had done more? Or was it pretty quick that you were like, you know what, we're happy with how we did?
Yeah, we were so happy when we won the 3-4 game. Like, that was a huge win for us to win that 3-4 game. Know we're going to be on the podium. That was an incredible game with Team Skrillex. Like, that was exciting, a great battle. And then we went into the semifinal believing we could win it. We had a great game. We battled right to the end. And yeah, it sucks to lose. It would have been great to be on, like, in the final. It would have been unreal. But we were still really happy because we still achieved our goal to be on the podium. And everything that we went through, just getting through that game was just so emotionally tough. And so it was just kind of like, okay, it's fine. We're still really happy. We're still really proud of everything we achieved and getting that far and what it meant for us for next year. We were just super excited. So it was like, let's go watch the final. We love curling. It's going to be fun. We get rings.
I want to go back to a specific game, Christina, early on in the week. And the reason I'm asking you this is obviously we're both from the Maritimes and geographically, it's just a lot tougher out here to travel and play the top teams. And a little bit of a mindset shift, I guess, before we go to these national championships. I know when I used to play, it would be like, oh, there's a game, we've beat them before, but it's going to be tough to beat them at the Brier. But you're good enough and you do believe in yourself. But earlier on in the week, you guys came out strong with a win, but then I think it was your second game, you lost to UConn. Not that UConn's not a good team, but just Bailey Scoffin's very young. I think it was her second time there. What was said between the team to sort of bounce back and sort of how did you talk that through? How did you react to it? Knowing that, because obviously coming from the Maritimes, we would always kind of look at the games where we can win, the games we should win, and the games we probably won't win. What was kind of said to regroup, and kind of teach yourselves almost to believe again that you are a better team than this, and you're sitting at 101, but still lots of curling to go.
Yeah, we going into the week, we talked about where we wanted to be at certain spots in the week. And so we knew by the end of Tuesday, we wanted to have only one loss. So it was like, we're still on track. We're still on track. We just maybe lost it a little earlier than we would have liked, but we were still on track for reaching our goal for that chunk of the week. And we played pretty well. They played really good, and we really struggled on that sheet. We lost 3 of our 4. We lost 4 games that week. 3 of them were on sheet A. We just were terrible on sheet A. It was really tough sheet. And especially early in the week, it was really straight, and we just couldn't make the shots we wanted to make or get, follow some of their rocks. And they played really well. So it was awesome. And we're not going to lose many games up to to anyone, anyone, but sometimes it happens. So I was like, guys, I made a bad call in the 8th end on my last shot, and that cost us the game. So I was like, that's on me. Whatever. I won't do it again. It's fine.
Move on.
Wait. Sorry. You're a skip. Are you saying you blamed yourself?
Yeah.
That's a foreign concept. Wait, hold on. Is
Save
this the first
guest
time
ever.
in history that has ever happened?
I took ownership. I deserved it.
Wow, that is crazy. Oh my gosh. I want to be on your team if that were possible. That's a new experience for me. Wow, good for you. That's incredible. You had brought up this feels like maybe a little jarring, but you had brought up the 3-4 game and kind of the emotional situation surrounding it. First of all, I think appropriate to ask, how is Jen doing? Have you talked to her? How's that going?
Yeah, she's doing okay. She's home now in Halifax, and it's going to be rough for a bit for her, for sure, as she goes through everything with her family. But, she's home, and we're there to support her with whatever she needs.
And so I did want to know, because I think you haven't really, obviously people know the story, or most people know the story that, she kind of found out in the 3-4 game that her dad had passed away. And had been there earlier in the week. It was, a sudden kind of thing. But I feel like the story didn't necessarily get told. Like, did you know, like, as it was happening, that that's what was happening? Like, was the team aware that that was why she left the game? Like, what was, like, can you kind of walk me through what's sort of going on when she leaves in the middle of the game?
Yeah, we were like ready to start the next end, and then I was like, what's going on? Where'd she go? I didn't know where she went. And then saw her talking to our coach, Carol. And then it was like, then I went down and the girls were like, oh, Jen's got to go. It's an emergency. And then I knew, because I just knew her situation, that it was probably something with her dad. And I didn't know what, or that he had passed away, or if he was just maybe had a medical emergency, or what had happened. I knew they were leaving, like they were flying out that morning. So I didn't really know, and I didn't really want to let my mind wander to go to even wonder, because then I would have just broke down. So it was just kind of like, can't think about this right now, have to just put that aside. After that next end, like, our coach had tears in his eyes, and I was like, I can't even look at him, because I know it must be really bad, and just had to hold it together and get through that game until we had a chance to really talk to her. She came back out and sat on the bench later in the game, which was nice to see. And yeah, but it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, of course. Were you surprised that she came back out and was on the bench? Like, once you kind of knew what happened? Like, because I think we saw on TV, obviously you were all upset after the game, and Jen was there for the post-game celebration and everything. And I remember thinking, like, okay, that's nice. They won the 3-4 game, but this feel like everybody's crying. That's kind of interesting. You don't usually see that. So yeah, were you surprised that kind of ended up becoming a part of the moment?
Yeah, I was surprised when she came back out, and I still didn't officially know anything at that point. And I still just would be like, but she'd, tell me, great shot, Tina, after an end or whatever. And then, but it was nice for her to be there to celebrate that win with us. And just to have her out there, I think she just wanted us to know that she was okay, and to give us like strength to keep playing. So
I lost my mother pretty suddenly 3.5 years ago. And in that moment too, that's kind of all you can do, is surround yourself with things you love to do with the people you love. And, in a way, as much as it is unfortunate, the circumstance of where it happened, when it happened, at least she was doing what she loved, and surrounded by her, I'm assuming, some of her best friends, and, you guys were there for her. So make sure you give Jen our best, and hope the whole Baxter family's doing okay, getting through that.
Yeah, it was good. And, she was just trying to figure out how she was going to get out of there and get on a flight and stuff. And then, but she's like, if you guys can't get me home, I'm staying, and tomorrow, then I'm going to stay and play the next game. Like, she would have totally played if she couldn't get out of there, because she's incredible. Yeah.
Give her our best for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to ask another question too. I've been curious to ask you this, and it's more curling targeted, but I just found, I'm not trying to pump your tires here or your horn or anything.
Go ahead.
If you go back to I think it might have been our very first episode, we were previewing the Tour Challenge, and we're taking predictions and our thoughts on the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 fields. And when your name was obviously brought up between both of us, I think to certainly be one of the favorites and a team to watch in the Tier 2. You guys won that. But it's funny how the dates worked out. It was supposed to be the Guelph Slam that you were going to, but it ended up being St. John's. St. John's was just, in my opinion, it was the greatest curling event I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. fans were just mind-blowingly fun to entertain. And, you know, for me as an entertainer, from John as a broadcaster, and you as an athlete, like, it's fun to have that loud atmosphere. But I want to know, how did that help you guys in your preparation for the Scotties this year? Like, having that one event under your belt on arena ice. And the reason I brought up St. John specifically is because, you know, it's not like it was a big arena half filled. It was a huge arena, and it was packed, and it was loud, and they were passionate. Just talk about how that kind of helped you maybe feel like you're a little bit more prepared than if you haven't had that, and, you know, walking in for the first time in a year, maybe in an arena with a big crowd cheering.
Yeah, that was incredible. Like I said, that's my favorite place to play, because that was the best curling experience I've ever had. We've never played in front of that many people. You don't get the opportunity at the Scotties to play in front of that many people. They're in smaller arenas. So immediately after we had that experience, we said, oh man, was that great practice for the trials next year in Halifax?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the way that building's going to be. I think it will be. And being the home team, and we felt like the home team in St. John's, like, the crowd was just so fun. I never had people clap along to my shots or yell my name as I went down to go throw a shot and be like, come on, Christina. And it's like, wow, this is awesome. And it makes you feel so good and makes you want to make that shot so bad and fires you up. So we said that was incredible practice for us. And I think definitely will help us going into some events next year, especially the trials. Thunder Bay, the last couple of games were packed too, like really sold out. Not as many people, but still a full building and a loud building. And that was, it was really fun too.
I want to back up a little bit, because fun trivia fact, you are the last person to beat Rachel Homan at the Scotties.
I know.
So she's won, I think, 22 since then, but you are the last person beat her there. And I want to know, I think, you know, for people like Robbie and I who follow the sport really closely and have been aware of you, you know, and how good you are, I think it hasn't been surprising to us, your success this year. But, you know, you go from beating Rachel Homan in the Scotties, knocking her out, and then last year you don't make it out of the Nova Scotia playdowns. How did that affect you? Like, was that a huge disappointment? Is that part of how you got into like rebuilding for this year? Can you walk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was a disappointment. Anytime you lose provincials, it's terrible. Once you've been to the Scotties or the Brier, you do not want to miss out. You know, you want to be back every year. But provincials are hard. They're the scariest tournament. You know, everyone's trying their best to win, and it's a hard event. You never know when it comes down to a final, like a single game final. So, it sucked to lose, and kind of feel like all that hard work you had all year just is gone. You know, it's over. Your season's over. We had an okay season, but coming off a great one. So then you think, oh no, what are we going to do different? But it was always kind of like, okay, we need to get the team a little stronger and think about how to make it a little stronger, so my shots weren't necessarily so hard all the time, and just have better setups so we could get more multiple points, and it's not just a skipper's deuce the only way we're ever going to score twos. So I was like, I need to get Jill. We need to get the best team we can. So because that was actually losing to her at provincials, like, come on.
That was actually going to be my next question, was Jill coming into the lineup. Talk about the changes she's made to your team, anything specific that you've noticed, anything that she's just made your team better at, you know, overnight sort of thing. And just talk about her performance and what she brings.
Oh, she's just so good. Like, she's talented. She makes a ton of shots, and she's really shone at third. Like, she's been so good this whole year. At the Scotties, she was above 80% every game. She's the only third that did that. Just really steady. And she just brings a lot of knowledge too, and just she loves curling, loves talking about curling, thinking about ways to get better. And so we've got along really well. It's been a lot of fun to have her and to play with her. As a younger person, when I was younger, I looked up to her being a Canadian junior champ and being from here. And I always hoped that maybe I'd get to play with her, but it didn't work out until now. So it's been great.
How did that work after, because she beat you in last year's final? What did you approach her? Did she approach you? Did you kind of know that her team might be ending? How did that come together?
Yeah, I approached her and just asked her. I said, come on, it's time. I think you should come play third for me and let's have the best possible team for Nova Scotia. I was like, the trials are in Halifax next year. We'd be the only chance to get a home team. We need to put together a really good team that has a chance to qualify. So I knew her team probably was just more of a one year kind of deal. They were just kind of last minute kind of put things together after Andrea left. When she went to New Brunswick to play with Andrea, then Andrea left to go play with Krista. So then Jill was looking for a team here a little bit after the fact of teams kind of forming. So that team was a little bit of a last minute type team. So I knew it wasn't a huge that she would potentially maybe want to change, and she did, thankfully.
That's great. You bring up Krista McCarville, and I think people are maybe starting to draw some parallels between you and her as far as having great results at the Scotties, but you don't travel a ton. You play mostly in the Maritimes in Atlantic Canada, and it's worked for you. Obviously, you've gotten yourself into the slam mix, that sort of top 16 group in the world. Are there plans next year to play a little more off of it's not the Rock, but off of the Maritimes? Is that something your team has even discussed yet? Do you think it matters? I know Krista has said for years that she kind of felt like it never really mattered and she didn't feel like she needed to travel that much. Is that something that your team has discussed yet?
Well, we haven't discussed it really yet, but we know that we'll get into a few more events next year, so it's going to be planning around those events, like the trials and then the Scotties. So just how do we plan our season to be ready for those? It's not necessarily about we'll travel when we can. So we'll go to Spiels in Ontario. This year we went twice to Ontario. We were supposed to go a third time, but then instead went to St. John's when we got into that Spiel. It's just hard for us to go to those big events that are out west, because it's just, then you need a whole day off on either end to travel and then the time off for the event. Whereas if we go to Ontario, the event starts on Thursday. We can fly up Wednesday night after work, play the event, fly home Sunday night after it's over. And it's just logistically easier, because we can't take weeks off at a time to go to stuff that's, and then you're tired if you travel too far, and then you might not play as good. And then if you're not going to do well at it, what's the point? So it was just, this year we were really strategic with what events we went in, just trying to maximize our points and just doing as well as we could in every event that we went in. We're also not going to go in 3 events a month. We try to do about 2 a month, and that's kind of the maximum amount of time we have. Yeah. I'd curl all the time if I could. I would just play nonstop, but it's just not realistically possible.
Literally what I was going to ask you, in your personal opinion, do you think that curling has come to a place now where it's either you're all in or all out in 2025? I mean, sorry, if you want to go to the Olympics and, go to the top.
I don't know. I mean, I think we show that you can still put in a lot of work and still do well. We work really hard. We practice a ton. We work out at the gym together, and we're always on the ice, and we've done well, but we're not full-time curlers. And if you want to be like number one, you probably have to be a full-time curler in order to be able to just have enough time in your day to do all of the things to be the best. Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, all of that makes sense. I'm curious, you know, you have now lived in this curling world for the last 2 years, where Rachel Homan is number one with an extreme bullet. You know, 2 of the best seasons we've ever seen, for men, women, whatever, doesn't matter, mixed doubles, whatever, however you want to add it up. It's 2 of the best seasons ever. What do you think it might take for you to beat her? I mean, you did beat her in the Scotties a couple of years ago, but that was maybe before they had their kind of ideal lineup figured out. I'm sure it's something that your team thinks about and talks about. What do you think it would take for you to catch up with Rachel Homan, or just even to beat her in one game?
Yeah, I like to take a little credit to think that it smartened them up into finding their mojo and magic losing to us that year. So I'll take a little credit for that. They haven't lost in the Scotties since. They're so good. And Rachel herself is just unbelievable. And I think the bigger the challenge, the better she is. Like, she's just... It's awesome. It's really fun to watch. It's fun to watch them play. It's gonna take just playing a really good game, not making any mistakes, and then when they do make like a half shot, you better follow it up with a perfect, like, you better capitalize. Yeah. That's the only way you can win. And like, we played them in the 1-2 qualifier game, and you know, it was on sheet A. So that was a tough sheet.
It was G-A's fault. It had nothing to do with Rachel.
But they also made some mistakes, and then we didn't quite capitalize on them enough. And that's what it's going to take for any team to beat them. You really have to get the pressure on and capitalize if they make a mistake, because it happens rarely. But if it does, then you're going to have to nail them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think you literally said everything I was thinking. The thing about Rachel too is she makes it look like, I don't want to say she's so relaxed out there, because I mean, you can't be truly relaxed in dominating anything, but I guess they make it look so easy sometimes. You know, like this on like that double against Carey. I think it was.
Oh, that was unreal.
Yeah, just called it and made it. No, yeah, cool. And then I think it's so funny because my buddies sent sorry, this is going to sound creepy when I first start the story, but trust me, it's not. No, but my buddy who's a casual fan, not really a big curling fan, but he had texted me a screenshot from their Instagram, and it was it was either Sarah or Emma. I think it was Sarah, but she had those compression the leg things.
Yeah.
Just for recovery. Yeah, but there was a piece of pizza and a glass of wine beside. And he just couldn't believe. He was like, Robbie, they eat pizza and drink wine like they're human, like they just dominate, and everyone thinks that. I'm like, yeah, they do, and they have families and they're humans. But yeah, it's mind blowing to watch them just compete and again make it look so easy. Is there any curler, talking about top curlers? And I know you're a big curling historian. Who maybe I don't want to say idolize, but maybe anything you kind of take a bit out of their playbook when you compete. I guess, is there anyone you find a role model like throughout the years?
Oh, there's been so many. I think I try to learn from everyone and just watch all the curling and take it all in.
Would Kelly Scott be one of them?
I was a fan. I was a big fan of their team. Yeah, I was. But there's a lot. I never really thought of them in a while, but I was a big fan. I was rooting them on back in the trials in 2005 in Halifax.
Yeah. Well, we both, Robbie and I wrote the question, and then Robbie was like, "Oh, I've thought the same thing for a while too." And maybe this is just because I'm a BC boy, but your on ice demeanor so reminds me of Kelly Scott.
Oh, that's really nice.
You're very cheery. You're very encouraging of your teammates. You always seem to be very level. You never get down, but you will also slit your opponent's throat when you have to. You're a gentle assassin, as that's how I would have also described Kelly Scott. Very fierce competitor, cared so much about curling, but also just had a very sweet demeanor on the ice. And so I think especially watching you this week as you're finding yourself into more and more high pressure and high profile games, it didn't seem to shake you at all. And it just reminded me so much of Kelly Scott. And you're right to say thank you, because in my mind, that is a huge compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
No, it is. I was a really big fan of theirs back, in their heyday when they were winning those Scotties. And I really admired how nice and kind she was to her teammates and that whole team. I really enjoyed watching them. At the time I was a third, and I thought Gina Schrader was like the best curler ever. So because
she was for a time,
yeah.
She was very good. Probably the best curler on the earth for a few years there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask, let's have a few, let's get away from curling for a second, because I have a question for you. And we do have quite a few listeners from Atlantic Canada and the Maritimes here in the Broom Brothers community, I'll say. And you know what? I'm an entertainer. I'm a musician in the summer, and Charlottetown is a big tourism spot. So we have tons of tourists from all over the world every summer. And whenever I get anyone from Halifax or Sydney, I ask them this question. I want to hear your opinion, because you're from Sydney, but you live in Halifax. So you ready for this question? And I want honesty. This is you and I talking. Who has better pizza and donairs, Halifax or Sydney?
Oh, Sydney.
Right? See?
Thank Napoli pizza in Sydney.
That's the best.
That's number one. Yeah.
You know what? I think
I've
had
up near my bungalow, which for you West Coaster doesn't know what a bungalow is, but that's
I know what a bungalow is. I was born in Toronto. Thank you so much. And I grew up in a bungalow. Okay.
In a $4 million
bungalow. Home. It's not a style of home.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay.
No, not in Cape Breton. It's a summer, like a cottage. That's what we call a summer place.
Oh, you call a cottage a bungalow?
A bungalow, yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
And by my bungalow, the pizza place, Simply Pizza, unreal. If you're ever on your way to Ingonish or something, yeah, you can get a Simply Pizza.
And just for the record, I'm a huge fan of the Halifax pizza and donairs too. But first time I went to Sydney, no, it was next level. I fight that one to the death in the microphone at most pubs and places.
I would never, ever order a pizza in Halifax. Wouldn't eat it.
What?
Wait,
what? It's not that bad.
Well,
I live in Charlottetown.
Eat pizza in Halifax?
No.
What?
I only eat pizza when I go home to Cape Breton.
What about a Delicio?
Ew, no.
Oh. You know what? Great. I'm glad I brought this up.
That's crazy.
I would have a donair. I would have a donair here, though. Yeah.
What about when you're on the road curling? You will only eat pizza in Cape Breton?
Yep.
That's crazy. Have you ever had a potato or a lobster?
Is it because you just don't really like pizza that much, but you like it in Cape Breton, or you genuinely find pizza gross that's not from Cape Breton?
John, it's good.
Yeah, I only like Cape Breton pizza. I don't like pepperoni that other people use. I try not to eat much cheese because I'm lactose intolerant. So I choose not to have pizza very often. But I can't not have pizza when I go home because it's so good. It's the best. The crust,
you accept
the sauce,
tummy
the pepperoni. Yeah.
You know what? This summer, you might get a random FaceTime at about 9:30, and it's going to be me calling you from the stage at the old Dublin pub in Charlottetown, and there's going to be two men just staring each other down over this debate. I've seen fights break out over this. It's so funny.
This is
when
crazy.
We have family come from home, sometimes they'll bring pizza up for us here.
Yeah, proper thing. Thing.
Huh. Because obviously I do a lot of social media content with the Grand Slams, and you know, I have all these ideas in my mind in the future of like, I'm going to go to Sweden and do Midsummer with Team Hasselborg, and I'm going to go to Japan and go for sushi with Team Fujisawa. Apparently, I am also going to come to Cape Breton and have pizza with you.
Yeah, stay in the bungalow.
Let's do it.
And stay in the bungalow. Yeah, I can't believe you call it a bungalow. That's messed up. But anyway, I'll get past that. I do actually, Robbie. Weirdly, I have a related question. Okay. Because Christina, as you know, I know you're a fan of this podcast. I do like to do some research on my guests on the pod to see what I can find out about them. Obviously, you're one of the nicest people in the game, so I don't have any like really good dirt, but I have heard that in addition to being a very competitive curler, you are also an extremely competitive Terabish player. Can you tell me about that? Because this sounds made up to me. So tell me more about Terabish.
Tarbish.
Tarbish.
Okay. The other A. Yeah.
Okay.
Tarbish.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, it's a card game that is basically only played in the Sydney area. And my family are really big into it, and we love to play. And when we get together, it's like, come on, let's play some Tarbish.
It originated in Lebanon.
Oh, Lebanon. Okay.
Yeah, the Lebanese people, when they immigrated, a lot of them came to Sydney and brought that game with them.
What card
is the lore?
Game does it resemble?
I don't know.
What does it resemble?
Well, it's like a trick-taking game. So if you know euchre.
Yeah, I love euchre. Yeah, I'm from Ontario. Yeah. We're euchre people.
I figured, yeah. So it's similar, but also not. Like the rules are way different, but it's a similar style of game. So like I learned euchre very
Trump
quickly.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and it's fun, and there's these crazy things you can like. We call it its own language, and when we were kids growing up, you were like, "What's going on?" And it would just be all my aunts and uncles would come over pretty much every Sunday, and they'd play Tarbish. So eventually you just have to learn in order to be part of the club.
I want to play Tarbish.
Me too. So now now I'm definitely coming. I'm coming to the bungalow. I love cards. So we're playing Tarbish.
We'll teach you.
And we're
Put the kettle on, Christina. We're coming.
Yeah. Get some tea going. Pot of tea and we'll be all set.
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm super into it. I did also hear, and I wouldn't have suspected this about you. But you're also a bit of a gamer. You're a big Mario Kart head. True, false.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What's your favorite Mario Kart track?
Oh, I don't know. I just like any of them are okay. I'm not that big of a gamer to know all the tracks. Like
Mushroom Kingdom, man.
I'll play whatever. I don't like the water ones. What
about haunted houses?
Yeah, I have ones that I don't like more than the ones I like.
Okay.
I really hate Rainbow Road. It makes me dizzy.
Well, Rainbow Road is, that's its own genre of thing.
Ugh. Any of them, they suck. Some of the water ones don't like. I like the ones, just, fun ones.
I like the fun ones. Big news.
I just like winning. I just win. I just play. And
Next time at a slam, Christina, that I see you there, we're going to play Mario Kart on the Jumbotron, okay?
Okay.
It's happened.
As long as I get to be Toad.
We've done it many times. Oh. Facebook will get mad.
I'm Toad. I call it.
Toad.
Deal. I'm Bowser.
You can have Toad. That's fine. You don't have to call Toad. No one wants to be Toad, so you can just be Toad. That's fine.
Jill Brothers wanted to be Toad, and one night I had to let her be Toad to be nice. Share Toad.
So are you Toadette then when she goes Toad?
No, I was Yoshi.
Oh yeah. I mean Yoshi's sick. I'm a Koopa Troopa guy. Kind of always have been, but this is fine. I mean, I'm learning that we have to do a lot of things. Apparently, I need to come visit your bungalow, and we'll have to play Mario Kart on the Jumbotron.
Yeah,
the bungalow. That's so good.
It's so weird. Canada's so weird. Like you call it a bungalow in Ontario, it's a cottage. Out west, it's a cabin. Like when I would told people when I first moved from Toronto to Vancouver that I had a cottage back home, they were like, "What is that?"
New Brunswick, it's a camp.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Go to the camp.
This is a nightmare. Our country is too big. Last question from me, Christina. Let's get it back to curling here. What does, obviously, as we've said, you're if you weren't on the curling map before, you are now. You're in the trials, you're in the Scotties next year. You're probably going to be in some slams. What does the dream 2025-2026 season look like for Team Black?
Oh, dream season, win the Scotties next year. Yeah, that would be the number one dream season.
Okay, because you're thinking if Rachel makes the Olympics,
then we got a good shot, right?
Yeah, sure. I definitely you do. Yeah, I mean, I think you have a shot even with Rachel in there.
But odds go up.
Odds do. So that's the dream. That's the number one. If you could win the Scotties, that would be it.
Yeah, that would be number one.
Love it.
Okay, that was actually going to be my last question.
Sorry, Robbie.
No. I'm just going to add. No, I'm going to build on it. So with that answer, what do you feel that your team needs to do better to achieve that? And I do have a follow-up question before we go.
Yeah, I think still need some time to reflect on everything that happened last week and see where we can improve. But just thinking back, just a couple times making a couple strategic errors, not quite looking ahead at what you might be leaving someone, things like that, or rock placement, just very small things. But, just getting 10 end games are a long game. And sometimes you're like, oh, man. Just that one small shot you could have called differently might have made the difference. So I think it's just a couple strategic, just not making a dumb call. Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
And my follow-up question, this is very important. Favorite Rankin family song?
Oh, I love them all. I think my number one favorite song is North Country.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, or actually Orangedale Whistle. I love the Orangedale Whistle song too. I could name them all. I love them. Anything on like the North Country album is probably my favorite. I know them all off by heart. So
I'm a big Lisa Brown guy. But
I love that one too. That's on that album too. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
I'm with you. I love the Rankins. Come to our Wednesday night kitchen party next year.
There's nothing more surprising to me that the Rankin family have a song called Orangedale Whistle.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Fitting. You should listen to it.
I guarantee. Cape Breton. No offense. I guarantee you, I won't like it. But I will listen. But I will listen to it in your honor, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina, congratulations on an awesome Scotties. Thanks for coming on to chat with us. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, guys. I feel so honored to be a guest on the Broom Brothers.
Wonderful. Thanks, Christina. We did it. All right, we are here at the end of the show, and thank you again to Christina Black for joining us. Lovely to hear from her. Great, just a great person, and we sort of alluded to it in the interview, Robbie, but I would say loves the game almost more than anyone else.
Oh, 100%. She's always been like that, and a historian. You could ask her any question. Who won on Sheet D and Draw 4 the 1989 Women's World Championship? She would know. Yeah, she's just that person.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And great taste in pizza, by the way. So thank you for that.
That was wild. It got wild in there. I hope she doesn't get in trouble for saying any of those things. But Robbie, it is time to play a game. This is how we finish off every show. And I do want to review actually, because the last episode we played a game about the Scotties. And it was all over under. Okay. And so I'm going to review how you did. And
oh shit. Shoot.
No, you can say shit, first of all. Second of all, you did very well. You did very well. Yes, I had Einarson over under 2.5 in terms of finish.
Yep.
You said over, which yes, she finished second. Then I asked you for over under on Jane DiCarlo wins 2.5. You said under, which was true. She won one game. Then I gave you three teams where I said, do you think they'll go over under 3.5 wins? Kate Cameron, Danielle Inglis, Laurie St. George. You said over for Cameron and Inglis, which was true. They both went over. And then you had St. George under 3.5. They won 5 games. So that was your only blemish was that the Laurie St. George 3.5 under. But other than that, Robbie, I have to say, quite impressive.
Je m'excuse, Laurie. Je m'excuse.
Hey, look.
L'année prochaine.
You did great work. Okay. So, Robbie, we are going to play the exact same game, but with the Brier. So this is over under, and you're just going to tell me where you think these teams are going to end up. So
in terms of wins, correct?
No, the first two are finish. The first two are finish. Okay.
Yep.
So I am going to give you Brad Gushue 2.5.
So over would be finishing.
It would be making the final. So over would be they either come first or second. Under is they do not make the final. They finish third.
Under.
Okay. So you have Gushue not making the final.
Yep.
Okay. Love it. All right. You already answered this, but I was going to give you the same question of Mike McEwen Brier finish over under 2.5.
Under.
And you didn't even have them in the 3-4 game. So
I'm gonna get beat up in Toronto.
No, I think you're fine. I'm curious. I guess we can expand on that a little bit. Like what is it exactly that you're seeing out of McEwen right now that you kind of think they're not going to be in the
I think they're going to be like, I think they're going to get to playoffs. Yeah. I just have a weird feeling like there's only room for so many teams. And I have a feeling that Cooey's going to go on a run. And I have a feeling that Dunstone is, pardon my language, he's just going to say, fuck this and go win the Brier. Sorry, Nick.
No, he doesn't. You don't have to apologize. We should probably apologize to Nick for not swearing enough.
Yeah,
on
true.
Here is actually what I would say.
Yeah, I just think he was close. There a couple of years ago, lost the final.
Yep,
and he's just so competitive. And I've talked to that team a lot, just in interviews and stuff this year, and just knowing how hard they work. I just think they're due, and I have a feeling this is going to be it. Plus, Matt lives in BC. And
that's right.
He'll have a lot of fans and family there. And I don't know, the story's just kind of setting itself up.
Okay. All right. Now we are going to wins. And I'm once again going to give you 3 teams, and I'm going to give you the same line. So the over-under is 3.5 wins. So it's just whether they're winning.
Before we start, because I'm very hungry right now.
Yep.
Over would be like
4 wins.
4
or
wins.
more.
Yep.
4 wins or more. Under is 3 wins or less.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. John Epping.
Over.
Okay. That would get him into the playoff conversation in that very tough pool. Okay. Another Pool A team, Reed Carruthers.
I'm going to say over.
Okay. You got a lot of teams winning 4 games in that pool.
Yeah, I probably should have the pools up.
Well, I mean, you got Cooey, you got Gushue, you got Dunstone, and then you have Epping and Carruthers. So mathematically, probably, unless both Epping and Carruthers are making the playoffs, but you already have Kevin Cooey making the playoffs. So, well, hey, we'll see. It's
you know what? No, I'll change with Carruthers. I'll change Carruthers and I'll leave
go under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then switching over to Pool B, they're the 3rd ranked team in the pool, but I would say, it's a distant 3 compared to the top 2, Ryland Clyder.
I'm going to say under.
Okay.
And nothing against that team. They're really strong. They're a really good team. We've just seen them in 2 slams this year. I think there were technically 3, but in the tier 1.
Yeah, they won the tier 2, and then they were in Nisku and in Guelph.
Right. And I just found, and like naturally, like this isn't a criticism of the team because I really like the team and think they're good, and they're going to be really, really good in the next 10 years. But they just didn't. How do I say this? They just kind of looked like they had a bit of that deer in the headlights look a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think the Brier is even more, just a bigger arena, just a bigger feel. So I'm going to say under on them, but that's not because under. Yeah. But, and that, again, that's not because I think they're not capable, but I just don't think this is going to be the year.
Okay. And last one, over under on a team using black foam, 0.5.
Under. I don't think anyone's going to use black foam.
Okay. All right.
That's my pick.
That's the pacifist in you is saying no one will use the black foam. I guess it remains to be seen.
Man, I'm an Islander. That's what we do. We keep the peace.
I love it. I love it. Well, there you have it. We hope you all enjoy the Brier. I know that Robbie and I will for sure. We will see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks again to Christina Black. Thanks to the curling group and the Grand Slam of Curling for bringing you this show. And stay cool. Enjoy the Brier. We'll see you back here in a couple weeks. And nice looking heart, Robbie.
Number one. Cheers.